Was Eugene coming too?
Hi everyone. Welcome to this week's Facebook Live. We've had a couple technical difficulties this morning, so I apologize. But if you haven't met me, my name is Lily, and I'm the current AmeriCorps here at the Outdoor Learning Center. Today we are going to talk about rodents. So before we get started, I want to ask, which of the animals on this slide do you think are rodents? We have some rodents living at the center here, so I'm going to grab one of them quick while you guys put your answers in the comment section, and I will be right back. Alright, so I am back, and I have one of our guinea pigs here, who is Oscar. So let me bring him up so you guys can see him. This is Oscar. So, let's see, did anyone guess which of these animals happen to be rodents? Anyone? Okay. Well,
We're a little bit lagged here.
there we go. So if you were thinking that all of them might be rodents, you would be right. All of the animals on this slide are rodents. So chinchillas, guinea pigs, capybara, mice, squirrels, chipmunks, prairie dogs, they are all considered rodents. So give yourself a pat on the back if you got that right, because even I didn't know all of those animals were rodents when I was researching for this live. You click. So as I mentioned, today's live is going to be about rodents. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to comment at any time. Tiffany is here helping me with Facebook, and Jamie is helping me with my slides and Facebook too. So, what makes a rodent a rodent? So rodents are a type of mammal, and they actually make up the largest group within mammals. So there are about 40% of all mammals in the world are rodents, which makes up like 2,000 species of rodents, which is a crazy amount. They come in all shapes and sizes, from tiny to giant, and they live all over the world. They live in every continent except for Antarctica. So, some rodents live in the water, some live on land, some live in trees, and some even live underground. And some rodents even kind of fly, like the flying squirrel. So we also have some that are insectivores, which means they only eat insects. Some are herbivores, which means they only eat plants. Some are omnivores, so they might eat insects and plants. And then there are even rodents that are fungivores, which means that they only eat fungus or like mushrooms, which is also crazy. And as you can tell, rodents are very different, but the one thing they all have in common is their teeth. So all rodents are missing their canine teeth, and all rodents have incisors that never stop growing. So that's these teeth on the capybara here. You can see they're really long, and they have to continually chew on things in order to keep those teeth down. Right. So before I talk about any of the domesticated rodents, or rodents that might be pets, let's talk about wild rodents. So I want to ask you guys, and put your answers in the comments section, do you think there are any wild rodents living in Washington?
And we have a bit of a lag, so we're not seeing the comments.
That's fine. So I'm going to wait a second so you guys can think about it, because I have been informed, if you didn't hear, we have a bit of a lag. So we are not seeing comments right away. But
I have one yes now.
oh yay, we've got a yes. Yes. You can go ahead and hit it. You'd be right. We do have rodents living in the wild in Washington. Like I said, rodents live everywhere. So there are many, many species of rodents living in Washington. There are rats, mice, beaver, porcupines, squirrels, chipmunks, nutria, gophers, lemmings, kangaroo rats, marmots, voles, and even a mountain beaver, which actually looks nothing like a beaver, and isn't really even that closely related to the beaver. But it's only found in the northwestern U.S. and western Canada, which is kind of neat. So now that you know some of the rodents that live in Washington, let's talk about the largest and then the smallest rodents that live here. So what do you guys think is the largest rodent that lives in Washington? And go ahead and put your answers in the comments, and then I will tell you in just a second. Hi, Debbie, and hi, Christy. Thank you for joining us. So what do you think is the largest rodent in Washington? The beaver. So the beaver is actually the largest rodent in North America and the second largest rodent in the world. They gnaw, as you probably know, on wooden bark, and they make large beaver dams in rivers and streams. And so beavers actually used to be hunted for both their fur and because they would be a pest. And however, dams are an important part of the ecosystem, and in a lot of areas where beavers were hunted out, people found that rivers were stopped flowing, lakes started drying up, trees, fish, and birds were less common, and so some of these areas have started bringing beavers back in hopes that the beavers are going to start building dams again and bring that ecosystem back to normal. So, just a quick question. What animal do you think is the largest rodent in the world? So I've mentioned this name a couple times, and it is the capybara. Don't click yet. So capybaras are found in South America and are the size of like a really big dog. They, like a Saint Bernard or a Great Pyrenees, a big dog. They love swimming. They eat all veggies, so they are herbivores, and they're found both in the water and on land. They like to swim a lot. So, now that we've talked about the largest rodent, what about the smallest? So what do you guys think is the smallest rodent living in Washington? Now, I'll give you guys a second to think and put your answers in the comments. Like I said, we do have a bit of a lag, so I might not see your answers before I move on, but put them in there.
I have a guess.
You have a guess?
Christy's guessing mouse.
So Christy is guessing a mouse, and you can go ahead and show. A mouse would be right. So there are a lot of different kinds of mice. The Western Harvest mouse is the smallest one in Washington. And this is only like 9 to 22 centimeters long, so it's really small. And it only weighs like 11 to 17 grams. So you can see in these pictures that this mouse can fit like on the top of a little flower. That's how small it is. So this mouse, because it's so small, is a prey item for a lot of animals and predators that live around here. Everything from like owls and hawks to bobcats and fox eat these guys. So since I asked what the largest animal was, or largest rodent, I'm sorry, in the last slide, I want you guys to see if you can figure out what the smallest rodent is in the world. So it's actually a tie between two rodent species. The Pygmy Jaroba, and I think I'm saying that right, is this tiny guy on the right here. I think it's the right, or the left. I don't know my directions, but it's this one. He lives in Pakistan, and the Pygmy Jaroba lives in hot and dry deserts and is nocturnal, and adults are only about 3 inches long. The other rodent, which is the one over here, is also tied for the tiniest rodent, which is an African pygmy mouse. It lives in Africa, and adults are only 1 to 3 inches long. And an interesting fact about these mice is that in the wild, they'll stack up little stones in front of their burrow before they go to bed, and then when they wake up in the morning, they have like morning dew, so like little droplets of water that you see on the grass in the summer. Well, that dew collects on the stones, and then the mice can go out first thing in the morning, and they can get a nice little drink of water before really having to leave and go out of their burrow, which is really neat, especially in the desert. So I know rodents, especially mice and rats, can get a bad rap. People think they're dirty. They're dirty, they're dumb, they're creepy, and or just straight up gross. That's okay. It's okay. And but they're really, in reality, rodents are some of them are just as smart as primates, and elephants and whales and dolphins. And a lot of rodents are actually cleaner than dogs and cats. And rodents also have a specialized body parts that allow them to do things that humans, we could never do. And just an interesting tidbit is that we think of dogs and cats as like a typical pet today, but in the 1700s, pocket pets like mice and gerbils were common in Japan, and then that spread to Europe in like the 1800s. So just neat little facts. So now I'm going to show you 3 video clips. They're all pretty short, but this first one is the most recent. This was published, I believe it was last year, and it's maybe the most interesting. So we're going to have play.
You may not be sharing the road with them anytime soon, but that doesn't make this any less impressive. Rats can drive cars. Researchers at the University of Richmond in Virginia taught rats to drive a tiny car made of a plastic food container as part of a study on mental health. With 3 copper bars for steering, rats press the right, left, or center bar in order to steer the car in their desired direction. In rectangular driving ranges that measured up to 4 square meters, food was placed at increasingly large distances in order to encourage the rats to navigate around the arena to reach their prizes. The rats were divided into 2 groups, one in enriched environments filled with toys that the rats would be interested in playing with, and one group housed in normal cages. The rats housed in cages were far more likely to fail their driving tests than the rats housed with toys meant for brain stimulation. According to Kelly Lambert, a professor of behavioral neuroscience and one of the researchers on the project, that means the complex environment led to more behavioral flexibility.
Okay, so basically, the rats in this study were trained to press one of 3 levers, which let it move around a room in this little car and find some treats. But what's really interesting is that the rats that were driving the cars in this study, they found that the ones who had a lot of toys and things to do and play with were able to drive the cars better than rats that didn't have a lot of toys or fun things. So this helps scientists learn that having toys and interesting things to do and play with actually helps animals and humans when we want to learn new things. So the next video is short, but as many of you might know, rats have been blamed for killing or for being the reason why millions of people died in the bubonic plague like a long time ago in Europe. But researchers are now finding out that rats might not be the ones to blame.
Day. Over the centuries, the plague killed millions more with repeated breakouts. Rats have been blamed as the infamous vermin that carry the deadly fleas that leapt onto humans, giving them the disease and spreading the epidemic. But it seems that rats have been the victims of one of history's biggest framings, and by fellow rodents no less, the gerbil. Science is now outing the truth through the trees. A team from the University of Oslo has been analyzing the plague period through tree rings, and it's discovered the weather didn't favor rats at the time, but gerbils. They are now believed to be the creatures that spread the plague along the Silk Road trade route from Asia to the docks of Europe's biggest cities. Of course, it's all still an educated theory, and the scientists will next study ancient bones of human victims in order to find further proof and perhaps rewrite the history books.
So that little video just showed that, because I know it was quiet, so I'm not sure if you guys could hear it super well, but rats are probably not the cause of the plague. So the fleas, it was thought that fleas were on rats, and rats were what kind of were around humans, and that's how the plague was kind of given to people. But now they're thinking that it wasn't rats, so there's that. The last clip that I have is one that I actually showed back in the fall, but it shows just how smart rats really are. So
Over the centuries,
we're gonna get to the next
plague
slide
killed millions
eventually.
more with repeated breakouts. Rats have been
There we go. Okay.
There, okay. I know this one's loud.
Rats have demonstrated capacity for metacognition. That's the ability to think about your own thoughts. At the University of Georgia, rats were given what's called a duration discrimination test. Researchers would play them a tone, and the rats would be given options to categorize that tone as either short or long. If they got the right answer, they got a big reward, and if they got the wrong answer, they got nothing. But the rats were also given a small reward if they declined to take the test at all. If only high school were like this. Imagine going in to take your final exam and the teacher stopped you at the door and said, hey, you could just walk away for a C. If you thought you could get a higher grade on your own, then go ahead and take the test. But if you're pretty sure you're going to bomb it, that C is starting to sound pretty good. It's a choice, though, that calls for the ability to know that you don't know something. And rats had no problem with that concept. When the length of the sounds got harder and harder to discriminate, they were much more likely to just decline to take the test and get their little reward. People say, I think, therefore I am. So rats are at least on the level of I think that I want snacks. I've actually met quite a few humans whose thinking generally stops there. You're probably up.
So, as you can see, rats know when they don't know something. So this is something that a lot of animals don't know, and it shows just how smart rodents are. And I mean, after all this, I do understand why some people are nervous around rodents, and to be honest, their black eyes kind of creep me out a little bit. But rats and mice have given so much to the science community, to medicine, and even to human society. So we need to give them their props a little bit here. So now here's the moment you guys probably were waiting for.
Rats have demonstrated capacity for...
It won't.
There we go. We have some rodents here at the Outdoor Learning Center. And if you have any questions or comments about any rodents or anything, feel free to put it in the comments section. Let us know. But the first one I have here is a chinchilla, and her name is Freckles. In the wild, chinchillas live in South America, and they are herbivores. So Freckles loves flowers and strawberry treats. Chinchillas also have very soft fur and are nocturnal, which is why their ears are so big and their eyes are so tiny. Chinchilla fur is very special and soft, but it doesn't dry well. So chinchillas actually have to take a dust bath to stay clean. An important thing to note about chinchillas, like Freckles, so they really don't make great pets. They're not actually domesticated. So domesticated, we've talked about it before, but it means like they still have wild behaviors and thoughts. And chinchillas, because they're nocturnal, will wake up at night, they sleep all day, they love to run and jump on things, and they are kind of crazy sometimes. And they like to chew because they're rodents. They have to constantly chew on things, and they will chew on everything and anything you have. So our other rodents at the Outdoor Learning Center are guinea pigs. So I've got Oscar here again. Ooh, he's trying to climb out of my hands. So here's Oscar. Oscar has been at the Outdoor Learning Center since around February of 2020. So he's been here just about a year. And we also have Ziggy, who is another guinea pig. So You can see Oscar's in these pictures, and that's Ziggy over here. And both have very distinct personalities. Oscar actually loves hay and food and loves people, and Ziggy's a little bit more cautious around people and a little more nervous. And in the wild, guinea pigs live in South America, and the local people in South America sometimes keep guinea pigs as pets, but sometimes they'll also eat them. And one of our Facebook commenters mentioned that, which is why I threw this in here. Luckily, Ziggy and Oscar live and work here at the center, so all they have to worry about is when their next meal is. And guinea pigs, unlike chinchillas, guinea pigs are domesticated. So this means that humans, thousands of years ago, took guinea pigs, wild guinea pigs, and bred them so all the babies were calm and they liked humans. And then hundreds and hundreds of years later, we had the domesticated guinea pig, which are these guys, and they can be found in so many different colors, sizes, and hair types. So I don't know if you've seen, some of the guinea pigs have really, really long fur. And like this guy's got really short fur. Bring him up again so you can see him. So this is just about all I've got for rodents for this week. Oh. I just informed that my mom is watching. So hi, Mom. Thank you for watching. And I do have one more thing to ask. So I actually have a pet rabbit, and he's here today. Yeah, can you go grab him? His name is Eugene, and I had to ask you guys, do you know if rabbits are considered rodents? So I have someone grabbing Eugene quick, and I will tell you guys the answer in just a second.
We had a quick question before I take Eugene. Why is the guinea pig shaped?
Why is it shake? So the guinea pig is probably shaking because he's a little nervous. Imagine yourself getting picked up and held by someone when you're not used to being held. You might start to shake and get nervous a little bit. So that's probably what was happening with him, why he was shaking. But we can go ahead and tell you the answer. This is Eugene. I'll just show him quick. So rabbits are actually not considered rodents. Rabbits and hares are actually considered, it's called a lagomorph. So I'll say it again, a lagomorph. So rabbits, the biggest difference in lagomorphs and rodents is that in their teeth. So you can see over here, rabbits have like 4 teeth on their top jaw, and rodents only have 2. So there are some other differences too, but that's the easiest one to kind of talk about and see. And I just had to add this because I have my own rabbit here today. And I was just going to see anyone else have any other questions.
Somebody wanted to learn about squirrels, Lily.
Squirrels?
Yeah, so what do you know? Especially right now, we have them.
Well, there are tons of different kinds of squirrels. We have some squirrels here. I think there's 4 species in Washington. I believe the largest, I think, is a gray squirrel. Jamie's nodding her head. So the largest is a gray squirrel. And I know we have some at the center here. And we've got some families, like squirrel families, that are just kind of crazy. They're going all over the place trying to find food right now. And I know a lot of squirrels, they'll bury their food so they can find it during the winter when food might be hard to find. And sometimes the squirrels, though, they can forget where they put their food, and that is what leads to some of the trees and the bushes and things that we find, is because they forgot where they buried their nuts. So there's some squirrel facts. Anything else? All right, so that's all I have for today. So I hope you guys learned something. Feel free to continue to comment in the comment section, and we will comment back. But I'll see you guys next week. Bye.